again. Okay, so the lymphatic system. This system is responsible for immunity, and the parts of the lymphatic system are lymph nodes. We have many throughout the body, okay, and lymph nodes are small round structures, small round lymphatic structures distributed throughout the lymphatic system. Then we have lymph organs. Lymph organs are bigger and few in number. The lymph organs include tonsils, thymus, and spleen. So those are considered as lymph organs. Then we have lymphatic vessels. In lymphatic vessels, we have trunks, capillaries, ducts. Okay. So, in lymphatic vessels, we have trunks, lymphatic capillaries, and lymphatic ducts. And the fluid that circulates inside the lymphatic system is the lymph. So lymph is the fluid. Okay. So those are the important parts of your lymphatic system. Another information about lymph nodes and lymph organs is that lymph nodes are solely responsible for immunity. Only for immunity. But lymph organs are responsible for immunity as well as other functions. Okay? For example, your spleen. It is responsible for immunity, but also it is a site where red blood cells are destroyed. Okay? So site of the destruction of red blood cells. So lymph organs have other functions too. The next system is the respiratory system. Respiratory system consists of the nose. Inside the nose, you have a cavity called the nasal cavity. Then you have the pharynx, larynx, trachea. Then trachea divides into two bronchi, right and left. And right bronchus, bronchus is singular, bronchi is plural. Okay, so we have two, right and left. Right one, right bronchus enters into the right lung, and left bronchus enters into the left lung. And inside the lung, they divide, branch again and again, like branches of trees inside the lung. Okay, and the last organs are the lungs. So those are the parts or organs of the respiratory system. The function of the respiratory system is the exchange of gas occurs in the respiratory system. In your lung, gas exchange takes place. You know that. between the blood and the alveolar air. So between the blood and the alveoli, gas exchange occurs. Now you tell me, why blood goes to the lung? Very simple. Why? To get the oxygen. You all know that, right? Blood goes to the lung to get the oxygen. And at the same time, blood gives carbon dioxide to the lung that we expel out, right? So that is the function of your respiratory system, right? Gas exchange. Oxygen goes from the lung to the blood, carbon dioxide goes from the blood to the lung. Is it clear? Okay. Digestive system. This system consists of two parts. So first, we divide the digestive system into two parts. One is called the GI tract or gastrointestinal tract, and accessory organs. Okay. Now, GI tract is a long tube from the mouth to the anus. It's a continuous tube from the mouth to the anus. It's a long continuous tube. In some places, this tube gets narrow, in some places gets wider. Okay, so let's see. Inside the mouth, you have the oral cavity, so that is the first part of the tube, oral cavity. Then you have the pharynx, then esophagus. Esophagus is a narrow, long tube that takes the food from the pharynx to the stomach. Then what happens? That narrow tube gets wider and forms the stomach. Okay, it's very wide and forms what? Stomach. And again, it gets very narrow and long. That is the small intestine. Makes sense? And then gets wider again to form the large intestine. Is it clear? So you see, it's a continuous tube, but in some places narrow, some places wider, right? So what are the parts of gastrointestinal tract? Oral cavity. Okay. Then they did not mention pharynx, but pharynx is also a part. And then esophagus, then stomach, small intestine, large intestine. Those are the parts of that tube, gastrointestinal tract. Accessory organs include liver, pancreas, gallbladder, teeth, tongue. So those are not the parts of that tube. Those are outside of that tube or gastrointestinal tract, but they help in digestion or digestive functions. Functions of the digestive system. Since this system is called the digestive system, number one function is digestion. Digestion is the breakdown of food. Okay, the process of the breakdown of the food is digestion. Why we need digestion? Because we eat the food as big pieces, right? So it should be broken into very fine molecules called the nutrients. So to produce nutrients, food, by digestion, large food particles are converted to fine nutrients. Okay, nutrients. That is the purpose of digestion. Converts the large food into fine molecules of food, right? And those fine molecules are called what? nutrients. Make sense? Then next function of the digestive system is absorption. Another very important function. The fine nutrient molecules, food molecules, are taken into the blood from the intestine. So from the intestine, blood sucks the nutrients, takes the nutrients, right, into it, and that is the absorption. So absorption is nutrients enter into the blood from where? Your small intestine, right? So that is the absorption, the process by which the nutrients are taken into the blood from the small intestine. Then number 3, metabolism. Mostly occurs, the first step of metabolism in your body mostly occurs in the liver. And you know that liver is a part of your digestive system, right? So metabolism is another important function of your digestive system. Now, metabolism does what? Metabolism converts the nutrients to ATP, energy. So to produce energy or ATP, we need metabolism. Okay, and as I have mentioned, first step of metabolism mostly occurs in your liver, which is a part of your digestive system. Okay, and then excretion. Those foodstuffs will remain in your intestine, will not be taken into the blood, will get out from the body as feces. So that process of excretion of unused foodstuffs from the body is called excretion, or removal of unwanted foodstuffs to the outside of the body as feces. That is the excretion. So those are the important functions of your digestive system. Urinary system. Urinary system is the main excretory system of your body. Many harmful toxic chemicals from the body are removed through the urinary system. So that's why it is called the main excretory system of your body. Parts. Kidneys. We have 2 kidneys, then 2 ureters, narrow tubes, 1 urinary bladder, and 1 urethra. So those are the parts of your urinary system. Now, the function of the urinary system. Urinary system removes the harmful metabolic wastes from the body. Example, ammonia, uric acid, urea. Those are harmful chemicals, are produced in our body during metabolism, and those are very toxic chemicals. So those should be excreted, right? Removed from the body. And your kidneys do that. Through the urine, kidneys remove those toxic chemicals. Ammonia, urea, uric acid, those toxic chemicals are excreted through the urine. Another function is regulation of body fluid. Regulation of body fluid or water. Very simple. You can test. If you drink too much water, what happens? Your kidneys produce more urine. You know that, right? So kidneys are doing what? Excess water are being removed by kidneys, right? If you don't drink, then kidneys produce very small amount of urine, right? Highly concentrated urine. That means what? Kidneys try to keep the water in your body. So by producing more urine or less urine, your kidneys regulate the body water or body fluid. Similarly, your urinary system regulates the electrolytes. If any electrolyte concentration increases in your blood, kidneys will do what? Excrete that excess electrolytes from the body. For example, let me give you an example. Hydrogen ion. If in your blood hydrogen ion concentration increases, that is called acidosis. That means your blood is becoming acidic, acidosis. So this electrolyte should be excreted out from the body, right? Excess hydrogen ion. So kidneys will do what? Will excrete excess hydrogen ion that is present in the blood to bring the pH normal. Okay? To keep the blood normal. So this is a good example that how kidneys prevent acidosis by regulating the hydrogen ion. Okay? And that is the acid-base balance. So those are important functions of your urinary system. Now the last system is the reproductive system. This is the only system which is completely different in male and female. All other systems of our body are same in male and female, but the reproductive system is completely different. First, we will see the parts of a male reproductive system. Male reproductive system has external genital organs like penis and scrotum. Those are called external genital organs or genitalia. Penis and scrotum. And inside the scrotum, there are two testes. Testes are called male gonads. Male gonads. Okay. And you have, in male reproductive system, you have glands. What are the glands? Glands are prostate, that's the main one. Also, you have bulbourethral gland and seminal vesicle. Let me not show here, let me write it down here. Seminal vesicle and bulbourethral glands. So, those are the glands in male reproductive system. One prostate, two seminal vesicles, two bulbourethral glands. And also, we have ducts. Ducts are tubes, tube-like structures. Okay? Tube-like structures. And the duct in male reproductive system is called ductus deferens. You see here in the picture, ductus deferens. So those are the parts of a male reproductive system. External genitalia, I am repeating again, penis and scrotum. Inside the scrotum, you have the gonads, testes, two, and then you have glands, prostate, semenovesicles, and ovourethral glands. You have duct, tube-like structure, that is called the ductus deferens. Okay. Parts of a female reproductive system. Female reproductive system consists of external genitalia, includes labius majus, labius minus, clitoris, those belong to external genitalia. Then you have an uterus. Uterus houses the embryo and fetus. Embryo becomes fetus inside the uterus, right? So inside the uterus, embryo is formed and that becomes a fetus. Very important organ. Vagina, that's also called the birth canal. Okay. Then you have female gonads. Female gonads are ovaries. Female gonads are ovaries. Okay. And then you have tube-like structures called the fallopian tube, also called uterine tube, same thing. Okay. Here they have mentioned uterine tube, also called fallopian tube, same thing. So those are the parts, and also female breast, mammary glands. So those are the parts of female reproductive system. Now, functions. The main function is reproduction. Production of offspring, new life. That is the main function of your reproductive system, right? Another important function of reproductive system is production of sex hormones. Male reproductive system produces male sex hormone, your testis, and female reproductive system produces female sex hormones, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. So production of sex hormones is another function. Now, sex hormones have a number of important functions. One is secondary sex characteristics. Because of your sex hormone, you get the secondary sex characteristics. Now the question is, what are the secondary sex characteristics? Secondary sex characteristics are the properties or characteristics. By looking at those, we can separate a male and female. External features. By looking those, we can separate a male and a female. Make sense? So now you tell me, if I ask you, what are the male secondary sex characteristics? How we can separate a male from a female by looking from outside? You know that, right? You don't know? You must know that, yes. Adam's apple, right? So that is male secondary sex characteristics. Anything else? You all should answer quickly first. Yeah, distribution of hair, right? Facial hair or other hair. So very good. Number 2. Anything else? How about voice? Male voice is what? Deeper, right? Loud. So that is male characteristic. Prominence of skeletal muscle, right? Skeletal muscle is more prominent. Broader shoulder, baldness, right? Those are male secondary sex characteristics given by testosterone, male sex hormone. Make sense? Female secondary sex characteristics include what? Second? Mammary glands. Yeah, very good. Mammary glands. Voice, again, right? High pitch. You can hear from far, although not very loud, but you will hear from really far. High pitch voice. Broader hip, right? Broader hip. Subcutaneous fat under the skin. Female has very nice layer of fat under the skin. That's why the skin looks smooth. So those are the female secondary sex characteristics given by the female sex hormones. Make sense? Okay. You have seen if any woman starts to take testosterone, changes occur in the body, right? Turns towards like male appearance. So that clearly tells that sex hormones are responsible for those changes. Sexual drive and behavior is controlled by the sex hormones, right? So those are some important functions of your reproductive system. Okay, so we are done with those 11 systems of the human body. Now we'll talk about the necessary life functions. Which functions in your body are very important? Maintaining boundaries between internal and external environments. Two types of boundaries we have in our body. One boundary is the skin. You know that skin separates the body from outside environment, right? So that is a big, large boundary in our body that separates inside the body from outside. Another boundary is microscopic boundary, very small, that is the cell membrane. You know that cell membrane separates inside the cell intercellular fluid from extracellular fluid. So we know that outside of the cell we have fluid in the body, and inside the cell we have fluid and other structure. So intercellular fluid is separated from the extracellular fluid by the cell membrane, and that microscopic boundary is also very important. Movement. Movement is essential for life. Just think very simple. Respiratory muscles are moving continuously, right? Respiratory muscles. If the respiratory muscles don't move, you won't be able to breathe. Make sense? Your heart is continuously pumping, moving. So movement is very important in your body. Yeah, when you swallow the food starts to move downwards, right? Goes to the intestine, stomach, intestine. That movement is very important. That occurs due to contraction of the gastrointestinal tract. So you can give many examples. I just gave you 3. Respiratory muscle movement, heart muscle movement, GI tract muscle movement to move the food stuffs. Responsiveness. The ability to respond to a stimulus. I am repeating again. The ability to respond to a stimulus. That is very important. For example, when you get scared, your heart rate increases, right? That is the response of your body to that stimulus. When something hot touches your skin, quickly you move your hand away. So that touch is the stimulus and response is moving the hand away, right? And we need those responsiveness in our body. Otherwise, our survival will be difficult. Breathing rate. Another example. If you go on the top of high mountain where the oxygen pressure is low, you know that on the top of the mountain oxygen pressure is low, right? So you will see how your respiratory system responds to that environment. Your breathing rate will increase because your body will try to take more air inside, right, to get more oxygen from there. So it will happen. Your body will respond to that environment by increasing the rate of respiration or breathing. Digestion, I have already mentioned, breakdown of the food stuff into fine food molecules called the nutrients. So if the food that you eat is not converted to nutrients, your blood will not take it, because blood cannot take big pieces. Blood can only absorb very fine molecules. Those are called the nutrients. Make sense? So digestion converts the large food into fine molecules so that can enter into the blood. Metabolism. Why metabolism is essential? I have mentioned already, to produce energy. Metabolism converts the nutrients. If you see, I mentioned before, metabolism converts the nutrients to ATP, energy. Without energy, your body functions will not occur. To pump your heart, you need energy, right? You don't pump your heart, it happens by itself, right? For the contraction of heart muscle, you need ATP. To contract your respiratory muscle, you need ATP. For physiological actions of your body, you need ATP. That comes from metabolism. Excretion. In your body, harmful toxic chemicals are being produced continuously, and those should be removed through the urine or through the feces. So excretion is essential. Otherwise, the toxic chemicals will start to build up, accumulate in your blood, and will kill you. Okay? So excretion is very important. Reproduction. Now, in biology, reproduction refers to two things, two types of reproduction. One we all know, everybody knows, reproduction is the production of new life, offspring, right? Children. That is one. We all know that. Another reproduction is called the cellular reproduction, multiplication of the cells. You know mitosis, meiosis, have you heard that? Cell divisions. So that is also reproduction. Cellular reproduction is essential. You know, very simple example. Your red blood cells die after 3 to 4 months. So lifespan of a red blood cell is what? 3 to 4 months, right? Then red blood cells are dying inside your body. So new red blood cells are being continuously produced, right? To replace that. That is a good example. Another is, you know, that your skin dies, skin cell dies, right? Sometimes skin, we take the skin off even. So new skin is being produced. So always, all the time, our body cells are dying and new body cells are being produced. That is the cellular reproduction, and that's why you need the cellular reproduction. You know, when you drink hot coffee, okay, in the morning you take hot coffee, when you drink it, some cells, mucosal cells are dying. If it is too hot, you know, you feel that, right? You don't taste after that if you eat something. That means what? Your taste buds, taste cells have been destroyed. But quickly, new cells are being produced. That's why after a few hours, you start to get good taste of food, right? So we need the cellular reproduction. Growth. During the growth of the body, adequate growth of the organs is essential. If any organ, for example your heart, if the heart, all organs have grown normally but heart didn't, heart is small, it is not able to pump enough blood. Okay, so normal growth of the body parts is important. What do we need from outside for our survival? Survival needs, we need from outside, we need nutrients, that means food, For metabolism, we need oxygen for metabolism. Those two things we need from outside for our metabolism. We need water in our body from outside. We drink water, we eat food, we take oxygen from outside, right? Those are our needs. Maintaining body temperature. We don't live in extremely cold place. We need to live in an atmosphere where your body temperature can be maintained, which is very important. Okay, why? Because normal body temperature is essential for chemical reactions that take place inside the body. You know, thousands, many chemical reactions are being taken place in your body. For all those chemical reactions, we need to maintain optimum temperature, certain temperature, that is the body temperature. In normal body temperature, those reactions will occur. Make sense? If your body, hypothermia, sometimes if your body gets too cold, many of those chemical reactions get stopped or slowed. Make sense? So the person may die. Appropriate atmospheric pressure. That is also our need. We don't live on the top of very high mountain. We live at sea level. Why? Because the pressure of oxygen and other gases is good for us. This pressure is good, right, for us. If you go on the top of the mountain, you have to carry what? Oxygen tank. You know that, right? Otherwise, it will be difficult to survive there. So, appropriate atmospheric pressure of gases is also needed. Okay. Now, we'll talk about another important topic, that is the homeostasis. What is homeostasis? Homeostasis is the process of maintaining internal environment of the body constant, unchanged. I'm repeating again. Homeostasis is the process of maintaining internal environment of the body constant or unchanged. So your body systems are working to maintain the internal body environment constant, same all the time. Very simple example, you know that if your body temperature increases, how your body tries to lower the body temperature? By sweating, right? You know that sweating occurs, and the water that gets out takes a lot of heat out, and your body temperature remains same. So you see, your body is trying to regulate or maintain the body temperature, and that is the homeostasis. Always your body is doing that. Another good example, I have already given that. If you go on the top of the mountain, what will be in your respiratory rate? It will go up, right? Your respiratory rate will increase. Why? Because in the air, the oxygen is less there, right? So your body will try to get more air to give to your body tissue. So homeostasis. You don't do that. Your body is doing that stuff. When you do exercise, workout, what happens in your heart? Heart rate goes down or up? Increases, right? Why? Because when you do exercise, more metabolism occurs, right? So your tissue needs more oxygen. So by increasing the pumping of the heart, your body is supplying more blood. That means oxygen to the tissues. Make sense? So always your body tries to maintain the internal environment normal. when you get scared, suddenly your heart rate increases, right? And it starts to pump strongly. Blood pressure increases, you know that. But after a few minutes, comes down, right? Goes back to normal. Your body is bringing those back to normal, right? Otherwise, after you get scared, if it stays like this, your heart rate is 150, blood pressure is 200. If those things stay like that, in resting condition, that is dangerous, right? That's not good. So that becomes a clinical condition or disease. So that is the homeostasis. So now you see, let me give you an example. Your heart rate is between 70 to 80. Heart rate, we know that. So it varies between that. For any reason, if your heart rate goes up beyond the upper limit, then your homeostasis will work to bring it back to normal. Okay? Bring it back to normal again. So here the homeostasis will work to bring it back to normal. If for any reason homeostasis fails to bring it back to normal, that is the clinical condition, disease. But normally your homeostasis will be able to bring it back to normal. For example, after exercise, after you get scared, your heart rate increases but slowly comes back to normal, right? But if for any reason your homeostasis system is not working, is failing, that will not be able to bring it back to normal, will stay here, like for example 150, that is a clinical condition. So that's how we get the diseases if the homeostasis fails. Now, you know that two systems of your body are called the control systems. We have already talked about that, nervous and endocrine. In last class, I have talked about that. So these two systems regulate homeostasis. Okay. Nervous system and endocrine system, because those are the control systems. They control. And homeostasis occurs in two mechanisms. Mechanisms of homeostasis are positive feedback mechanism and negative feedback mechanism. Okay, so those are two mechanisms of homeostasis, positive and negative feedback. Remember, this one is more useful. Okay, the negative feedback, works in most of the cases to keep the environment constant. Positive feedback only occurs in few instances, few cases, to keep the environment normal. For example, let me give you a couple of examples of positive and negative feedback. Positive feedback is childbirth. During childbirth, you know that uterine contraction of the uterus occurs, and initially the contraction is slow, but gradually the contraction increases. Okay, so that increase of contraction is the positive feedback that occurs by positive feedback mechanism. Okay. Increase uterine contraction during childbirth, and that will continue until the task is completed. That means childbirth occurs. Blood clot formation. Blood clot formation is another example of positive feedback mechanism. What happens during blood clot? Small clot is formed by platelets, one type of blood cell. Then more and more platelets join there, okay, and makes the clot bigger. So here you again see the size is increasing, right? So that is another example of positive feedback mechanism, and will continue until the clot is established or formed. Then when clot is formed, it will stop. To perform those specific functions or accomplish those specific tasks, positive feedback works. Negative feedback, most of the cases, as I have mentioned, remember that homeostasis is maintained by negative feedback mechanism. All those examples I gave you, like if you go on the top of the mountain, your respiratory rate will increase. If your body temperature increases, sweating will occur to lower the body temperature. Okay, all those are the examples of negative feedback mechanism. Okay, so negative is to bring the function back to normal. Now see here, negative is to bring the function back to normal. Positive is to accomplish certain functions like childbirth or clot formation, to accomplish those functions. Now, components of feedback. So these two are mechanisms, positive and negative. Don't confuse between mechanisms and components. Okay? Mechanisms are positive and negative feedback, and components are those three: receptors, control center, and effectors. Now, your skin has the temperature receptors. So this is the skin. You have temperature receptors. Also, skin has sweat glands. You know that. So these are sweat glands. Okay. And here is your brain, control center. You know that nervous system is the control center, control system. So that's the control center. Okay. Now, when the body temperature increases, these receptors detect that. You detect, your receptors can detect, right? If it is cold or hot. So when body temperature increases, these receptors will detect that. So receptors are the first components, must be activated to detect that. And then the receptors will send signal to the control center. So signal from the receptors will go to the control center. Nerves will take that signal. Anyway, then your control center, in this case the brain, does what? Will analyze or interpret that information. That means what? Your body temperature can increase 1 degree, 2 degree or 5 degree, right? Someone has to, your skin cannot decide that, how much. Who can decide? Your brain, right? That yes, temperature has increased, but how much? 5 degree or 3 degree. Makes sense? That will be determined by the, analyzed by the brain, interpreted by the brain, control center. And then brain will send signal to the sweat gland. If it is 1 degree, less sweating will occur, right? If it is 3 degree, more sweating should occur. So brain will send signal to the glands, sweat glands, and tell this much you release sweat, this much, this amount. Okay. So the brain will send signal to the sweat glands, not to the receptors. Brain is sending signal to the sweat glands, and sweat glands are the effectors because they will perform the task. Okay, effectors. Who performs the action or task? That is the effector. Okay, so receptors detect the change, control center interprets or analyzes the change and sends command to the effectors, and the effectors perform the task. Okay, so those are three components of your homeostasis. And just say the examples I have already given you. Okay, so that's all.